Hi everyone, this is Angela from Music Strong, joined by...
I am Dr. Jen Cavus from Tuned and Toned Performance, and welcome back to another episode of the Tuned and Strong podcast, finally getting it right consistently.
I always say it wrong.
Well, you got that from me. That's my bad. All right.
And we are
today,
joined.
Yeah, we have another special guest. Is it Doctor or is it Miss?
No,
Miss,
just
Miss. Ms. Okay, Miss Hillary Lester. We will let you introduce yourself today.
Hi guys, my name is Hillary. I am a music composer. I was a vocalist, life coach. I have a full-time job. I'm kind of doing all the things right now. I also co-host a podcast. I make my own jewelry, which is kind of fun. And yeah, I'm doing all the things right now.
No sourdough bread?
Yeah. I know, and I got my sourdough starter to work, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's your background? So I'm curious, actually. You said you're a composer, because that's how I found you on Instagram, is that your Instagram handle is The Healthy Composer. So I'm curious, not only tell us a little bit about your composition journey, but also there's some other things that we wanted to get into with that. But yeah, like, didn't you go to school in the UK?
I'll just kind of dive in. So I was originally from Texas. Yeehaw. But I've been in Montana for the last, 20 years of my life. So I grew up in a really rural community in Montana. But my start in music was actually in Texas. Texas is very well known for its robust band programs and music education and all that jazz. So I got started playing the flute there when I was young. We moved to Montana. Yeah, I'm like, go flutist. Moved to Montana. I played in our high school band, which was grades 7 through 12. And so if you can imagine, you never really progressed past the 7th grade level. So I enjoyed playing flute. I think I learned bass guitar. I tried, everyone just starts having fun and swapping instruments and doing what you can do to stay engaged. I joined choir, but I didn't love choir. Was told by my teachers, or highly encouraged to go do a STEM career. So I originally did engineering at Montana Tech, which was just 40 miles down the road.
What kind of engineering?
I was going to do environmental engineering, and I did really well in my classes, but I really, really hated the material. I don't know who loves calculus. Like, I was really good at it, but I hated it. And so I spent all this time researching other degrees to get. I had a scholarship that could transfer to another state school. And I found the music composition program. And I had never composed in my life, but I just felt totally drawn to music composition. So I just applied. It was a state school. They took me right in. And my second year of school, I had completely transferred over into music. I failed my theory placement exam. It's funny because, like, when you if you study music and like academics, there's all that pressure of like, I've been studying music for like 10 years and I've been taking private lessons for years and years. And I showed up and was like, I want to learn all the things, teach me.
Well, that's what school's supposed to teach you.
Yes. So I enrolled. I took my first composition class. I fell in love with it. It was challenging and exciting, and I had always kind of had this personality for when I was listening to music. I would just in my head be like, okay, I want this. I wish this would go a different way. And when I was playing, I would always kind of like tweak things and play it my own way, which I found that a lot of other composers do that as well and have that quirky like, well, I think it needs to do this. And so, yeah, I kept going with composition. Graduated. I was so stubborn, I graduated with it. And then I took a couple years off after my bachelor's, went and got a master's overseas in England, which the only reason why I did that is I really wanted to go abroad and I really wanted to study vocal composition. And so I kept Googling vocal composition programs in the US, around the world, and the University of Birmingham and UK kept popping up. And so eventually I just was like, hey, that must be the one. I've done all this research. It seems like the school to go to. Had never been to England before, but just kind of packed everything up, went over there, and loved it.
You didn't study with Eric Whitaker at all, did you?
No, but
darn.
I love
He's
his
over there, isn't he?
He's kind of all over. I want to
Okay.
say he spent some time in the US, but I've sung a lot of Eric Whitacre, and he's so much fun to sing because he really pulls you in.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
Mhm.
his harmonies because
Mhm.
he does this beautiful crunchy stuff and then it resolves in this
Yeah.
way that you don't expect that makes you go,
Yes.
oh.
And
Yeah.
it's so funny because like academic composers love to rip on Eric Whitacre. And I'm just like, he's doing all the things that you wish you could do if you were untethered by academics and would be doing if you didn't have this ego attached to you. I'm a little sassy with composition.
Mhm. Tell us all the things. We're not into composition, so we don't know. So, we don't know that side of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is our first interview with composer, so like,
Yay.
yeah, dig into that world.
Tell us all the things.
But yeah, so I really loved my time over there. I ended up moving home back to my parents' house in Silver Star, Montana, population like 25. The cows outnumber the people over there. So I ended up hitting kind of a really low point after that because I came off this high of grad school and then came home and had that great music dilemma of what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm so sorry, I just what am I doing with my life?
It's fine.
And kind of had that existential crisis of like, do I get a day job? Do I go into music? How do I go into music? I don't know anybody. Like, how can I network and get a job in this? And spent 9 months looking for a job in Montana, which was very frustrating because you get that master's degree and suddenly people go, oh, you're overqualified for this day job. And I'm like, no, I need the day job to pay my bills because I have student loans coming up.
Yeah.
So I really, really struggled mentally during that time. And one of the things that I really, really got into was fitness. And somebody that really pulled me out of that funk was my brother, who encouraged me to go weightlifting with him. And we worked together, and there was a gym at where we worked. So he was like, well, come on, just after work, we'll go lift weights. And I was like, oh, okay. I was kind of doing like yoga and stretching, but I was resisting doing weights again. So I did weights with him and noticed as you guys know, your mood dramatically improves when you can do some weightlifting. And so after that, it just kind of clicked with me that, hey, like if I want to be a better musician, if I want to learn these skills to promote myself and to promote my music, I'm really missing some fundamental confidence, skills and just self-worth and restoring all that. And the way that I kind of found my way self into that was getting into fitness because you end up building all of these skills and you don't realize it as you're going forward. So that's really helped me, I feel like, become a better musician because now I've got this renewed self-worth. I stand taller. I feel prouder. I feel more comfortable with talking about myself and therefore my music. So yeah, it was kind of a long story. But,
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's right up both of our alleys. Exactly. Especially the part about being, like, oh, well, I do yoga and I stretch and like, but only a touch of weight.
yeah.
Yeah, that was me. That's me.
Well, I used to be so intimidated by it. Like even unless I'm like doing a program or I've learned so much about it but it's like when you don't know anything about weightlifting and you go to a gym or you're with your friends, it's like I don't know where to start. I'm not gonna pick these up. Everyone's staring at me.
Right. Or you're like, well, I don't understand. You just move it this way,
Yeah, doing it right.
Pick it up and you put it somewhere else or you put it back down. That's it.
Right. Or I'd get on, my favorite was the lat row when I was first starting, and I'm like, so wait, where am I supposed to feel this? Like, I understand that I'm moving my arms, but I don't understand what this is supposed to do for me.
Like, how can I do it like this? Or like,
right. Like, point A, point B, point A, point B. Why am I doing this? So.
Oh, it's so true.
Right on. So you said you brought up something in our conversation a little while ago about actually finding kind of forgiveness through fitness.
Yes.
Can you
So,
explain a little bit more about that? I mean, was that like a
yeah.
personality kind of thing or what?
Oh yeah, totally. One of the great things about growing up in a small community is in Montana, if you're in a Class C school, they can't turn you down for sports. So when they do basketball, like if you try out, you make the team. And so when I moved to Montana, I was 12, and they're like, "You are 5'9", you are the tallest girl, you have to play basketball with us." And I was like, "I'm not really athletic. Like
You're
I
voluntold.
fast
Yeah.
and I was so clumsy." And they're like, "Doesn't matter. You're learning to play basketball. We need somebody to block shots." So I was like, "All right, let's do this." And so I'd kind of gotten into fitness that way. I had played basketball, played volleyball for a little bit in junior high. I did track, I did cross country, but I had always felt not as good as my peers. And I had an ankle injury. My second day of high school volleyball, I blew out every tendon in my foot, and was like, maybe this is a sign I don't want to play volleyball. But I like had to completely rehab that ankle, and so every time I did sports, like I had to get my ankle taped and then braced, and then I wore high tops to go play basketball because I would roll it through all of that occasionally. But I've since done a lot of balance work, so that's kind of a I have learned to rehab that in a different way. But so anyway, so in high school I didn't really, even though I was an athlete, I'd never like felt like I identified as an athlete, because I was like, I'm an outsider, I'm clumsy, I'm tripping all the time, I'm constantly rolling my ankle, like this doesn't feel good on my body. I don't think I really want to do this fitness thing in college. And so I went to college, occasionally would go down to the gym. I would do like the elliptical, I'd run. Like I said, would stay far away from the weight room because I was terrified of it, and just did enough to where like it would feel good a couple times a week, if that. Sometimes I'd go more than a couple weeks. But for me, it was kind of this idea of, if I'm not doing a program and I'm not doing it like 100%, then I'm screwing it up and I'm not welcome to do that. Like they had, like anytime they had fitness classes, like I'd be like, they'd be like, "Go do ab lab with us." And I was like, "If I miss ab lab once, then I've blown it for the whole semester," which is like just that perfectionist idea of like, which just so does not work with fitness. Like maybe it does for some people, but it absolutely didn't work for me. And so
Rampant in the music world though.
Yeah.
Rampant. It's like an expectation that one of my friends who's a touring artist, I was asking him about like the struggles that musicians face, and he said, you feel like you are, and you also have to be on all the time. Yes. Somebody can call you for a session in the middle of the night because, if they're a big name, they want to record it right then because they can. You got to be on, you got to be with it, you got to be, and it's just like exhausting. And if you're not, they just call someone else.
Yeah.
And they might not call you back.
Yeah.
It's just like so much pressure. So like you're just kind of expected to be perfect.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's 100% nails it in the head. Like it's just, which looking at it from like an outside perspective, you're like, this is not sustainable. Like this is not a good, easy, conducive way to live your life. And when you apply that to like fitness and music, it's like this all or nothing approach really doesn't work. And I enjoyed, I was listening to one of your episodes where you were talking about fitness and how it's advertised and marketed and all of those like awful things that you can feel watching those ads. And I would kind of get hyped into that idea with programs. Like I love workout videos. Like before like the internet, like I had DVDs of workout videos. Like I love me a good like calendar to follow. But it was like I would try those and I'd get like a week into it, and then it's like something came up on a Saturday and day 6 is blown, and then it's like, well, what do I do now? I had this calendar I'm following, I can't just pick up on day 7, or that's at least how I used to feel. And so I had these like start stop moments with fitness. And I do this with music as well, so this is kind of funny to think about. But especially with piano, I'm trying to get better at piano, but it's hard to do. Like you get that all or nothing approach that is just that's not how you learn piano. You learn by just showing up when you can and continually showing up.
You also learn through failure.
Yes.
You don't fail, you don't learn.
Exactly, which is like another thing that I feel like they don't teach you in music school is like how to fail.
How to fail. How to fail well.
Yeah. And what to do when you fail. And so when I was coming out of that depression and I had some deep dark moments, and there was a couple moments where I, contemplated suicide, and it hit me, and I was like, if I don't take care of myself, these thoughts are going to keep coming back. And if I don't find a way for this to work, I'm not going to be able to move forward. And luckily I had a great support system. I was able to talk with my family and friends about that, but it really, that's what for me in fitness was, what can I do to keep showing up? How can I find a mindset that can just pull me through? And so I decided that I was going to adopt this forgiveness mindset of, okay, if I don't show up day 4, I just show up day 5, and I do whatever I was going to do for day 4. And if I have a weekend wedding, oh darn, like I'll go do the wedding, I'll go enjoy it, and then I'll just pick back up on Monday or Tuesday whenever I can. And so adopting that approach changed my life, helped me really enjoy fitness, helped me stop caring about doing an 8-week program. And in 8 weeks, it became, I'll get it done when I get it done. That might take 10 or 12 weeks. And that's when I really started to see the results of getting stronger, of showing back up, my mental resiliency improved. I mean, all those benefits you get with fitness and fun stuff like that. But yeah, that forgiving approach changed my life.
Oh, that's so good. We somebody's got lawnmower all of a sudden. It's okay. It's
the magic of Zoom.
I mean,
Waited for 2 days for him to show up, and he shows up as we record.
I feel like every time I go to record something, I know this is totally off topic, but it's a beautiful day and I want all the windows open, and that's when like the dog next door starts barking and the kid starts crying, and then the lawnmower shows up, and then it's just birds right here in the window. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dogs get really jealous of me on Zoom, and they'll come like paw at me or grab the squeakiest toy they can, and then I'm like, I have to kick you out now because you're
yep. They only want to play with you when you're busy.
Yeah, and then I'm off, and they're like, oh, bye.
Sorry, fun tangent time. It's just like the reality. Oh, yeah. So actually, speaking of podcasts, this is a little bit of a tangent. We can come back the other way, but one of my friends, he does a podcast called The Business Side of Music, and he's been giving me all these really great tips on how to make your podcast sound really good, how to make it look good, how to do this, how to do that, all kinds of stuff. And they've got sponsors. They've got, I don't know how many episodes, 250 episodes. So now he's interviewed everybody. And this guy was a tour manager for, you name the country artist, he was a tour manager with them for a long time. So he's been in the business forever. Cool. Yeah. But he was, I'm losing my train of thought here. He was saying something like, you want to get into a quiet place. You want to have a really great microphone. You want to whatever. I'm like, yeah, but we're recording this on Zoom, and it's just kind of real life, and it's
the mercy of whatever.
And it's kind of okay. Because I look back at some of our episodes from this time last year. I was recording outside, and just whatever. Like, it's what it was, because it's like, we can't always have those perfect situations and make it work. And when the weather is this nice, I want the windows open. Sorry.
I want the breeze. I've been cooped up all winter.
Okay. So if anybody's listening, if you hear noises outside and they're distracting, we apologize.
Yeah. It also takes some time. Like, if anybody's looking to do a podcast or just getting started or not familiar with the process, any one of those things, it takes some time to refine it. So like, I don't have the setup for a soundproof room yet. Doesn't mean it's not eventually maybe coming, but like for right now, the windows are right there. There's literally nothing I can do.
I know, right? I don't either, and I still don't have a great microphone, so I'm sorry. Jen sounds great today. She has a fabulous microphone.
I know. I stole
laptop,
it. So.
I had to steal it. I don't guarantee to have access to it yet, but that's on the list. But then I think about, some of my other favorite podcasts, and you go back to episode 1, and it's the same sort of stuff that we started out with, where it's like you're in a room and you set up a camera with your buddies, and like you can hear the kids in the background, the dog across the street. Like, that's podcasting. It takes time. So total tangent. Thanks for dealing with the long guy. We'll see if he comes back or not.
That segues pretty well into talking about your podcast, because you have a podcast.
I
Okay.
do. My co-host Bill and I have the Sounds of the World podcast, and we interview musicians from all over the world just to hear what the heck's going on and what crazy stuff people are doing. We do classical, pop, art, noise, anything. So yeah, we started about September last year. So I feel you. It's definitely getting better. Every episode, you're like, make a tweak, and it gets a lot better.
Yeah. How many episodes do you have now?
Oh, I want to
Ish.
say like 20 episodes. Got a bunch recorded and re-released like one a week. So we've probably got 25 or so in the bank, which is a good feeling.
We relate.
Yes. Yep. So when you say that you're like interviewing people from around the world and that sort of stuff, is it from more of a composition angle? Is it from more of a like style angle?
Yeah, so we've interviewed players, we've interviewed composers, we've interviewed songwriters, we've just interviewed a rapper from Tunisia, we've interviewed um somebody that plays shakuhachi out in Japan. Like it's a fun hodgepodge. Like our whole tagline is the world's a buffet and it's time to eat. And so we're just any and everybody is welcome to join and listen and hopefully be interviewed on the podcast. So
What's it called?
Sounds of the World
Sounds
podcast.
of the World. Very cool. So I kind of want to get back into the whole fitness side of things.
Yeah.
That's the theme of ours.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Tune Strong.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Well, I mean, we had this big serious moment where you're telling us about, how fitness kind of brought you out of this very dark place, and then I lawnmower, and that was the end of that. So I do apologize.
Metaphor for life, because you get things get going and then a lawnmower comes along and you just react and deal. And
Accurate. Yep.
So,
you can't have perfection. Not in real life. You just can't.
Case in point.
Yep. That's her
Gumi, my golden doodle.
So when it comes to, I know you alluded to this to some degree, and we were talking about, or you were talking about how you found that there's this cross application of, confidence and forgiveness in fitness that applies to your music. I had a question out of that. Shoot. This is where we're at today, guys. This is where we're at today. So I don't know. Do you want to unpack that a little more? Maybe like, how does it affect your composition? Is it just from the professional relationship side of things? Do you think that they're the same sort of thing, music and fitness, or?
I definitely think they both take a set of skills that you can learn to develop. And I think there's this idea that either with fitness and with music, like you're either born with it or you're not allowed to join our club because you weren't a whatever prodigy at age 5. And I definitely felt that way with music, and I just kind of persevered anyways and was like, I'm a naturally good singer. I have a good ear, I have an ear for what I want to do. Maybe I can learn these skills to be a composer. And the biggest thing with composition is you're just learning how to notate what's in your head. I mean, that's what I spent 5 years and $60,000 learning to do. With your degrees is how to notate what's in your head, the technique of notating what you're hearing, and the best way to have musicians be able to pick that up and play it and get the best sound. But it doesn't take this innate skill that you can't develop, and if you have like just a spark of passion, I think is all it really takes. And I feel that that's the same way with fitness, because I'm not a natural born athlete. I'm 5'9". I have ankles the size of my chicken wrist, and I'm not built to be an athlete.
I'm not either, for the opposite reasons. But I'm not either. I don't sports. I don't sports at all.
Yeah, and it's like I grew up thinking though, like, I have to be really skinny or I have to naturally be a muscle builder. I have a friend that she could not pick up a weight for a year and still be able to like bench press twice what I can. She just naturally builds muscle, has that frame, and I'm like over here like, I've been doing weights for like 3 months now and I can finally bench like 50. Like, it's just I'm not built that way. But I still enjoy fitness. I still love moving my body, and I still love, it's like you get so many benefits from just showing up and moving versus you don't have to be, somebody that's killing it at like Peloton or Beachbody or whatever app you're doing. You can just be somebody that shows up, hits play, does what feels good in your body, modifies to fit whatever you need. Like I can barely do squats. Like squats are not like something pops in my knee and it's like I just don't do them. But I do them the way I can do them and I have fun doing that. So
right. That actually that goes along well with a podcast episode we did. One of the 13s. We have this really great habit of having too many episodes with the same number.
Yep.
Oops. It was a healthy habits episode, and we were basically talking. It's the science and psychology of exercise motivation, something like that.
I love it. Yeah,
it's a fantastic book, but basically it goes back to what you're talking about, which is you got to find a way that you like to move, because otherwise you won't stick with it. And it doesn't have to be what anybody else thinks you should do. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you don't have to be perfect at it either. I think was something that we didn't quite touch on, but that you absolutely just did. It's like I was doing a program for a while that involved squats, and I also have a problem with squats.
I don't like
working towards that.
Welcome right now.
Like, I've been working for a couple years on getting them fixed, and they are getting better. I've got a safety bar on my back the other day, and it went well, and I was like, woo! But for, the last couple of years, it's like, okay, it's squat day. And so how can I squat and make it work? And it's like, I can squat a sandbag safely. And that's what I squat. Let's squat the sandbag. Off the box, off of like whatever. But yeah, finding those ways to make it work for you.
It's important.
Can I just say I don't like squats?
Yeah.
My grandfather told me from a young age. Yeah, he's like, you need to do your squats, because I wanted to water ski. He goes, well, you got to build up your legs. You got to do your squats. I was like, I'll do squats. I didn't know what squats were. I was just like, they sit a lot, right? And stand up, and I got this. And so I would, every time I sat down, I'm like, I'm doing squats. I will water ski. Not a naturally strong person, but I've always liked fitness. And so when it came time to actually water ski, I realized how weak I was. I'm like, oh, I've not done squats. It's really hard, guys. If you never water skied, you want to be humbled real fast. That will do it. But I've come to realize, like, my brother is real into like, we're both short. I'm 5'3"-ish, 4-ish. I don't know. The Army keeps telling me something different.
They use this.
I'm not arguing. I'd rather grow taller than wider. So anyway, like, we're both like in that short, under 5'5" range. So it's easier for us to pick up heavy things off the ground than to do anything else. So he really loves squats, deads, benches, the big five. And I'm like, I like deadlifts. Deadlifts are fun. So that's my thing. So, and if I have to do a squat, I'd rather do like a Cossack squat, or you go sideways, or a Bulgarian split squat, like the single leg stuff that's hard, but a front squat or a back squat or a goblet squat, I hate them. I don't feel good. They make my hips mad.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm gonna grow a peach without squats. You watch me.
Well, that was like another thing I learned, years, this is kind of a tangent as well, was like, I didn't have glute muscles. My quads bullied the crud out of my glutes, and it was kind of a joke between our friends, like, oh, Hillary doesn't have a butt, and it was like, that should have been like a trigger to me that, like, hey, I'm not doing something right. But it was just kind of like, well, this isn't for me. I can never feel it in the where I'm supposed to be feeling it. And I just kind of like, just went through my life like that. Then I did a bar program and went, oh my God, I do have glute muscles. They're just severely bullied by my quads.
Yes.
And it's funny, like, you can learn stuff from different styles of fitness, and it's like, bar helped me lift weights better, weights help me do bar better, help me in yoga's helped me with Pilates helped me with, and it's just fun how all these different programs and fun ways of moving. So it's like, you might find that like I thought I could never do kickboxing. I love kickboxing, like, and it's so much fun to me now. And it's like, once I've learned to move my core properly and and get the form down, then you can have a blast with it. But there's that intimidation of like, oh, I tried that once 10 years ago. I never want to do that again. And it's like, oh, well, you might actually like it now if you give it a try. And having that open mind is key.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. That reminds me of a conversation we just had with one of our other guests recently, Chase Akers. If you haven't heard this episode, it's only on YouTube at the moment. So, I mean, I know we're recording. It's Chase Akers. And he had a really wonderful conversation with us about cerebral palsy, right?
Yeah.
I was blank for a minute. Okay. And how fitness has helped him in his life as a producer and a DJ and all kinds of stuff. And now he's into Krav Maga, and he started in Pilates. I mean, the damn it, right? He said the same thing, like, you just have to have an open mind and go try it. You don't know what you're going to learn.
Yeah. And it's so humbling. Oh gosh, fitness is so humbling. What was it? Last year, I did a Shaun T program, and I didn't realize that working out could feel like church. Because I'm like crying, like laughing, crying, and like going to these mental battles. I mean, it was so much fun, but it's like that was one of the like most mentally draining things I've ever done in my life. I don't know if I would recommend it to anybody, but but it changed me.
He is an entertaining man. I will say that, because I did one of his videos for a little bit, and I was just like, you're very endearing while I'm dying. You're very endearing. Like, it was not sustainable for me.
And yeah, it's like at the same time you're yelling like at him, like, how dare you treat me like that? And then you're like, I'm so inspired. And then you're like, screw this, I never want to do this again. And then you're like, I can do tomorrow.
Like, but it's only 30 minutes and he is funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I could sustain that for like 2 weeks, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah, that high intensity stuff, I feel you. Like, yes, I like doing it sometimes, but like all the time, no, man.
I don't think it's sustainable. Like I said, I learned a lot from that program. I have not gone back to it and don't see myself going back to it.
Right? Okay. It's okay. So what are some of the different fitness modalities that you've tried, out of curiosity? Like what kinds of things did you learn from them?
So I do a lot of the Beachbody ones because I had a budget in college, and it was like, okay, fits my budget. I can't really afford the gym right now. Originally did YMCA and I would Pinterest workouts and do free weight training, and I love free weight training. That's so much fun. So on Beachbody, I've done like, and I'm the kind of person that likes to try stuff in my home. So I'm like, if there's an app I can watch or a video on YouTube that I can check out, that's what I love to do. But I've tried kickboxing, weightlifting, Pilates, yoga, bar, which was fun. I mean, they have all sorts of fun different things, but I'm finally getting to where I can afford to go to the gym and take these classes in person with trainers, because I think there's so much to be learned by having somebody in the room checking your form and telling you what's going on, because I think that, and the danger of like doing the home workouts if you don't know what you're doing, is that can go real wrong real fast. So I'm definitely like highly, like, you guys as personal trainers, that's absolutely amazing. And I think that's what people need, especially when you're getting started, is somebody to make sure you're doing it safely, doing it with the right form, and encouraging you every step of the way.
Yeah. I know, for me, that was a lot of what kept me originally from touching the weights, was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, point A, point B, what is this doing, right? And B, then I do something wrong, be like, that didn't feel good, so I'm just not going to do it.
Like, you don't go back to that bar or that machine.
And the financial aspect too. I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm sure we have. It's something I talk about a lot, but there's this concept, and I don't know if you've come across this, Hillary, or not, but I've run into a lot of people who tell me that, oh, I can't afford, to go work with somebody. And there are times when that is true. I am not discounting that at all. Been there 100%. Can't swing it. Just can't. But what I find is, and I did this to myself also later on, well, I don't have the money for it. Yeah, but what else are you buying that you don't need to? What else are you buying that's actually hurting you that you don't need to? You know, is it helping your career or is it hurting you? Are you using it to numb yourself or are you using it like there's a spot, there's a place in life for a glass of wine. Big fan of that. There's a space in life for a nice eat out meal kind of thing. Absolutely perfect. If you're doing it every day, if you're doing more than a glass of wine every day.
When I was in college and I was trying to figure out how much I drank, you know, it was like I had that college kid mentality of I don't have any money, and then it was like, how much do you spend on booze every week, Hillary?
Yeah. Yeah.
It adds up fast. You know, I was surprised at how much more money I have this year because I'm not going out to eat all the time. That's one of my favorite ways to do it because I live by myself. And so when I get done with work, I didn't want to go home and be by myself. And I don't want to cook. I just want to go somewhere else. So I would just like go to these restaurants and I would hang out at the bar because that's where the single people are. And so then you get your meal, you meet new people, and it's just, oh, this is great, you know. And COVID hit, and I'm like,
and you're like,
yeah.
And then you realize, I started to realize, my gosh, how much was I spending? This is not okay, you know. And now I can spend it on stuff because I haven't been going out as much. And I'm kind of saving that for, I mean, it was getting to be a several times a week, like 3 or 4 times a week thing. And then it got to be like almost all the time. I mean, even if I wasn't like having dinner or whatever, I'd go and I'd have a snack or whatever, and it just adds up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
so fast.
Yeah. So it's like, well, okay, so maybe you don't have that money. What else are you spending it on? But also, what are your priorities?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you don't always need a coach. That's something I want to talk about at some point, but it's like, is personal training right for everybody? Is getting a coach right for everybody? No, it's not. There's some people who just do just fine without one. Also, there are certain times in life. Haven't you benefited from having a teacher, a coach, a mentor, or whatever? There's certain times, and you want to be able to afford that. When it's that time, you're going to cut out, when it's that important to you, you're going to cut out something that you know is not helping you to be able to afford that thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that was kind of like, you know, for me, that hindered a lot of my, you know, almost said academic, a lot of my physical pursuit. You know, going to the gym was like, I told myself, hey, I can't afford this, I can't. And it's like, I probably could have afforded it, I just didn't want to. You know, it's like you find a way to pay for things. And I think when you can really put your health and wellness at the forefront of you, the question kind of, at least for me now, is like, oh, can I afford not to do this?
Yes.
Garbage if I don't work out. I've noticed, like, oh my gosh, in college, I got sick all the freaking time in college. And then when I started, which, like, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I drank heavily. I was going out to the bars. Like, of course I got sick all the time. And everyone in the music building lives there and coughs on everything. And that's a whole other podcast. But okay, when I actually started caring about what I ate and how I moved, it was like my life, it was cheaper to pay the gym bill and to go, you know, go to the YMCA 5 days a week when I was doing that. It was like, that was so much cheaper than retroactively going to the doctor every couple months. All the junk food I was spending it on. And yeah, so that's a very good point. And I like that. It's like, yeah, you do have, you just have to do your priorities and look at what's in your life and what's in front of you. And
the cost of not doing something among musicians is a conversation that needs to be had, I think, more than what's the cost of it. What's the cost of not doing it to your career?
Well, and I recently hired a life coach in January, and it changed my life. But my whole thought was like, can I afford to pay somebody this to coach me through my mindset? And it's like, looking back, I'm like, I can't imagine if I hadn't done that. That would have been so dumb. Like, I mean, it's like I would have maybe got to point B, but it's like it may have taken me 3 years versus 3 months. So, and especially if you can get that expertise in fitness, like right off the bat, you can get somebody that can help you set that foundation. Like, you're going to save so much money in the long run because you know what to do and you're doing it. And I could rant on this. I'm going to step off the soapbox, but
it also relates to like what you were talking about before too, where it's like, okay, well, now you're putting yourself, and I know we've covered something like this too, Angela, but now you're putting yourself first to some degree. And in the music business, we don't usually do that. And so our mental health suffers, right? We need life coaches, we need teachers, because like we're a mess because everything else comes first, you know.
Well, that was so in around the time that I was getting into fitness, I got this idea for a blog and I launched it a year later, but it's the Healthy Musician site. And my goal is eventually to have resources on there. She's still a baby. She's only a year old, but I'm hoping to build more resources on there and have that conversation with musicians of like, you have to take care of yourself because putting the music first, always being on call, not having any boundaries for yourself, it's not sustainable and you're going to burn out or worse, you're going to, I don't know, that's a whole topic, but it's so important to talk about these things.
But it's one, and I'm sorry again for the background noise, but it's one that, like, you know, there's all this social media blabber about, and I hate to call it that because it sounds flippant, but there's all this social media blabber about, suicide awareness and mental health, and I'm like, but we're not opening the conversation in person.
Yeah.
We're not opening an actual conversation with the people who actually need it. It's not being brought to people in the same way. You know what I mean? It's the people who need the help aren't accessing it or seeing somebody who's like, oh, I'm on the other side, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and it was fascinating going to university over in the United Kingdom versus the United States, like the mental health. I mean, I applaud the UK and what they do because somebody came and checked on us in our flat. So they knocked on the door. They went, how is everyone doing? And they came and talked to you for 5 minutes and had that face-to-face conversation. And you talk to them, you're like, yeah, it's hard being a student abroad. And they go, okay, we have resources for you. And like, I got handed this like mental health and music packet. And like, they had an Alexander Technique coach that you could go sign up with. And they had resources for you to talk to. And I'm like, versus like the United States, and I don't know if this was just my university, but there was no talk about it. It was like, take care of yourself, eat right, drink water. We'll see you for your next 12-hour day tomorrow. Like, by the way, you're not drinking enough water. Like, that's all I remember being told. It was like, okay, as you can see, I carry my water with me everywhere now, but.
It's true. That is a conversation that is not really being had as much. I mean, you're just expected to have this crazy schedule and meet these crazy, especially perfectionistic demands.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it on one level. They want you to be the best that you can be by the time you leave. So you can only grow from there and be as prepared as you can be for the quote real world. But at the same time, that's only musically. And if your body's wrecked, how is that really? I mean, if you haven't been sleeping, been consuming tons of caffeine or booze or whatever, been eating junk, you've not been moving, if you've only been practicing and you don't have a clue what the right stretch is to do or the right move to strengthen after it.
Good stretch, yeah.
I mean, how many times do we stretch something that feels tight when it's actually tight and weak and we're making the problem worse because we don't know, but we're just expected to keep up this huge demand.
Yep.
It's unrealistic. It's not helpful. And mental health was never talked about when I was in college.
No. And it's still, I graduated my undergrad in 2015, but 5 years ago, that was not a thing, or 6 years ago.
I had a colleague who, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, even the people, like there was some word of mouth during my undergrad for mental health. And I know the resources at the universities are expanding. But it's like, well, go to the counseling center. It's free for students. And like, that's great. Don't get me wrong. That's great. And 100% like, yes, you want people going to the right people to get help. At the same time, there's some of these, it's like, I'll be straight up. I was a freshman in college. I was trying to figure out how to handle like all of a sudden this new schedule, living on my own at the same time. It's like, okay, so instead of working on 2 pieces for, your major auditions in the whole year, you're going to now work on an entire recital's worth of pieces. And you're going to be tested on half of them in 6 months, if that,
Juries.
Yeah, and not even 6 months, but like say, for example, 6 months or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, you just doubled my workload in just the practice room. I don't know how to do this either because I'm brand new. So you get overwhelmed. Normal. So word of mouth. Hey, there are student health services. They'll charge you nothing for a consultation. And if you want to go back, it's like $5 or $10, whatever it was. Great, fantastic. And I'm glad that they exist. However, when I went in, basically what I was told was, well, you're not suicidal and you're not crazy and you don't need any meds. So there's really nothing we can do for you. So you may as well just not come back.
That was my
like
fear with that. And I never went because I was terrified of getting that response of that. Like, I don't know what your problem is. Like, why are you so stressed out?
That's not counseling.
Like,
yeah. Well, and they understood why I was stressed, but they're like, okay, but you're not suicidal, so we can't do anything for you.
Learn how to deal with it.
Oh,
I mean, really?
Is it the point to help me figure out how to get, like, you know what I mean?
Coping skills that don't involve binge watching Netflix, drinking every 5 nights a week, maybe 1 or 2 plus drinks. I was a bit of an alcoholic back in the day. But it's like, and the joke was with my friends was like, well, students are alcoholics. And I'm like, that's a terrible, like, I mean, I could touch on that in another podcast, but yeah, that's devastating to hear that that is absolutely devastating. I don't know of another word for it.
I mean, at this age, I'm like, y'all are dumb. It's just funny in hindsight to me because I'm the one it happened to. I'd be pissed if it happened to any of my friends or students. Like, oh no, I'd make some heads roll. But like, but to me, I'm like, okay, that's really stupid.
That's not helpful. Like, okay, so what I was gonna say a little bit ago that actually piggybacks well on this part is that one of my colleagues, Nicholas Pallinson, if you don't follow him on Instagram, he's I met him at FSU in my graduate degree, and now he was an opera singer. Now he's a performance anxiety life coach type guy. I apologize, I forget what he does. He was doing hypnotism when I met him. So anyway, he mentioned something the other day. He's like, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and not to be flippant, but how about we actually do what it says, not just bring awareness to mental illness, but bring awareness to mental health. Yeah. What is your mental health looking like? What does that mean? And it's on the other side of that, when you were talking about what the counselors told to you, quick story. When for those of you who may or may not know, I got married right out of graduate school, like 10 days later, 6 days later, a week later, I don't remember what it was. So turned out that the guy I married was extremely mentally ill, but he was also incredibly brilliant. So he was able to hide it, and his family helped him lie and all kinds of stuff. He was schizophrenic or schizoaffective, I'm not sure, or all of the above. It just depended. Bipolar, manic bipolar, and also had narcissistic personality disorder. But I didn't know, right? Of course, I didn't know. Fast forward to when I did know, he had a mental psychotic break and was Baker acted, which is in Florida. If you don't know, there's Baker acted. Basically, you're taken against your will because you are deemed a threat to other people or yourself for 48 hours to a mental hospital. So I drove down there. My dad and I flew down to pack up everything I owned the day he was released, the day after he was released from mental hospital, because we were afraid he was going to set fire and destroy everything we owned because he was not in his right mind. I mean, he kind of recognized me, but he was gone, like in the eyes, gone. It was weird. It was really weird. So long story short is like, he was supposed to move to Tennessee with me. There's a long backstory about it. I talk about it in a blog, but instead, he decided, no, I'm staying in Florida. You left me. I'm like, you were supposed to move after you graduate. What? Anyway, so we moved down there, and oh my gosh, y'all. So the words coming out of this man's mouth were language I'd never heard in my life. Not like a different language, although he was speaking Arabic 3 days before, which he didn't speak, which was weird. Yeah. I was on Facebook, but long story short is that he was really scaring me. He's talking about time travel and alternate dimensions and conspiracy theories. And like, just the language he was using was not anybody I knew. Yeah. It was weird. And he lost his driver's license. And so the stuff he was saying was really getting me kind of scared. So I took him to the driver's license place to get get a new driver's license. Somehow he'd lost it or something. And I remember calling, there's like a mental health hotline you can call. And I'm like, guys, can we take him back to he's not right. He's going to hurt somebody. They're like, has he threatened anybody? I was like, no. Has he threatened himself or you or no? There's nothing we can do. And I said, does he have to murder somebody to get taken care of? And they said, basically.
Oh my God.
Point blank, they said, basically, yeah. He either has to threaten or try suicide or try to kill somebody or hurt something.
That's
Why is that?
cool.
And that was where I first got clued into the state of mental health. You know, we have a stigma, but that's because we don't understand. I understand a lot better now, but we also don't deal with it. So the first step is like, not just being aware of mental illness and making it okay to talk about, but also what's your health, your mental health.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it enough. Didn't mean to derail that, but I mean, it was just like, I got a story.
It's not extreme. It's either like, I'm doing great, everything's fine. And you know, we're all posting that on social media. Or, you know, I share probably way too much, but because I want to have those conversations. But back in the day, it was like, okay, you share the top 5% of your life, and you see the other top 5% of someone else's life. And so then when you're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad 6 months, you're like, I can't talk about this. I can't share this with anybody because everyone else is doing great. It's like, well, okay, everyone else is probably not doing great. First of all, we're all human. But you get so afraid to chat about that and to bring that up with your friends because you don't want to, you feel like you're a burden, or you're made to believe, to feel that you're going to burden somebody. And like I said, if it's not that extreme, then like you're just closing it off and not talking about it or not dealing with it. I mean, that's what I did until... I mean, I felt fine until I started having those suicidal thoughts. And then it was like, I'm not that. I mean, I didn't grow up that. I didn't have that. You know, it was like, this is so not me. I finally had that that realization that like, okay, I am not well. I don't normally have these thoughts. Something is wrong. And was finally able to reach out and talk about it. But I can only imagine what it would be like to have those, not feel like you can talk to somebody about them, continue to have them, trying to stay afloat. I mean, it's such a... There's so much room for growth and for this country to grow and this society to grow. And
yeah. Well, I know it's kind of a double-edged sword too, and it's like, well, everybody else is doing great, so I'm just the odd one out, and I'm not gonna, you know, rain on this person's day by, you know, all these gloomy thoughts just going this way. Or you get into the point where you think it's normal. Like, it's normal. And we're all dealing with this, so I can't talk about it because nobody wants to hear it because we're all dealing with it, which is the other end of music thing, which is where, oh yeah, music students, we're just, you know, alcoholics and caffeine addicts, and you know, like, because that's how we cope. Like,
I know, I'm like looking back.
So we're all coping, like,
do we not cope? You shouldn't just be coping to get through music school or your life either.
I remember doing my first, it was my conducting class, and getting up and doing, they film you conducting, and it was like, I had severe like stage fright back then. And like, I remember watching that, me, deer in the headlights trying to conduct, and then like all of a sudden the light leaves my eyes and I'm just like not in my body anymore. And I remember chatting with a friend and they were like, oh, you should just get on beta blockers. That's what I do. And I was like, why is that? I mean, like, and that's so sad to think back then, like, oh, you just, here's a pill, you don't, and I'm like, I have learned some really valuable coping skills since then, and I just want to share them with people whenever I can, because I'm like, your life doesn't have to be this way, and you don't just have to go see the free counselor that's not going to offer you quality help. There are great counselors out there, but sometimes you're not always getting the help you need, which is unfortunate, and it's just empowering people to take back that great healthy baseline and that state of mind to get through everything. But
one way that I combat that is when people ask you, oh, hey, how you doing? I answer honestly. I don't care who you are. You're gonna get it.
I love it.
Well, you know, I've had better days, but you're like, I'm exceptional. How are you? Oh, okay. So I try to, if it's good, I try not to ever say I'm fine. Like, I'm really good. I'm great. I'm exceptional. I am dynamic. What's a word that like I try to build my vocabulary at the same time being brutally honest. I'm having a terrible day. Actually, it's really sucky. I'm super stressed out. How are you doing? People aren't prepared to deal with that. But this is one way that I'm like, you ask, you can get an answer. Don't give me a flippant how are you if you don't care, because you can get it.
Oh, I really like that. I'm going to use that to segue into another topic that I wanted that kind of ties in with this is I got COVID in November 2020. And so many people, and this, this is such a widely talked about topic, as we all know, but so many people wanted to hear when I told them I had COVID, they were like, oh, how are you feeling? And it was like, everyone wanted to hear that I was 100%. Everyone. Nobody wanted to hear that I had struggled, and it was like, I got it. I had the like chills, aches for 10 days. I had the fever. I lost my taste and smell. I had the horrible chronic fatigue of like the first week I went back to work. I had to do half days. I have a desk job and I couldn't sit at my desk for 8 hours. Like it just really annihilated me physically. And then the brain fog lasted for another month and a half. But it was so frustrating because even people that mean well, they're like, oh, you had COVID. Oh no. Well, how are you doing? And you tell them, oh, I'm really struggling with, like I finally just was like, I'm going to give people the honest answer because this sucks. And so I started giving the honest answer, and then like it was very similar to that. People were like, "Oh, well, I hope you feel better soon. Like that'll go away soon. I've heard." And it's like, ah. But that empowered me to start speaking my truth and being like, "Nope, this is how I feel. This is what I'm dealing with, and it's not 100%. It's not all kittens and rainbows for me right now. I'm just trying to get through my day."
You need to hear that more often.
Yes.
We need to hear that kind of truth and honesty.
Yeah.
Because
and like you said, it's empowering for you, but like, man, what does it say that people don't know how to respond to a negative answer now?
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I'm like, why do we all have to be, and I don't know if it's a social media thing, but it's like, why do we all have to be 100% all the damn time? Because we're likely not, and that's okay. We should allow it to be 65% one day, and 80% another, and 35 the next day. That's just life. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite on this topic is a little, I don't remember where I saw it. It was like a little blurb or a little meme or a tweet or something like that. And it was like, I will text you something like, I will text you 32 times in a row with a bunch of different emotions and not even think twice about it. You're my friend. You literally signed up for this. I'm like, yes, that used to not be me, but that's currently me. Go.
That's awesome.
Like, you signed up for this. But then it opens the door for like, no, turn that around. Bring it. Like, come on.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, totally agree. This is something that should be that like we actually talked about this on another podcast. Like not about mental health, but how people, actually it's episode 7, not 7B.
No. Like which one?
We talked about it in social media and the like culture. Like we click the like button, and it's on social media, we just want to see the end results. We want instant dopamine rush of click the like, we did it, good job. That's inspiring, bing, 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 bing. Nobody wants to see you putting in the grind and putting in the sweat and putting in the today's a sucky day and today's hard. We say that, but the other day I had a hard day and I went live on Facebook and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't tell this to the 3 bazillion people who can see this, but I was like, okay, so I've got an $800 car repair. Apparently now I have to replace my water heater, my toilet, my floor, and blah, 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 blah. And I like lost it. I was crying all over the place. I'm like, I just want to help musicians and nobody wants to pay me. I was just like having this meltdown on Facebook. It's there. You can go watch it. Isn't it? Yeah. And you know what? Because of that though, and I don't know if anybody's watching it in the moment, I had so many comments after that and be like, thank you. We had no idea. What do you need? Oh, we're here for you. And also, I had no idea about your program. And please save that clip of you telling people because that was clear and concise and I didn't know. So we say that we don't really want to see the nitty gritty, but I've gotten more like I'm taking my how you doing to a whole new level with this lately. Like, well, I'm gonna tell you, whether you want to hear it or not is your choice. But I'm putting it out there. Because it's authentic, it's real life. And I think this whole situation with my ex-husband really helped, like it hipped me to that because I didn't know where to look for resources. There weren't a whole lot of resources. And when I would be candid with people, they didn't know how to talk to me. They didn't know how to act. They didn't know what to say. So they ignored me. That's not helpful either.
No.
So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna throw this in your face as authentically as possible. I'm gonna force you to deal with this. So quit being friggin' fake. So it's like, I don't care anymore. So it's like, all right, come on, world, the rest of us get on this train. I mean, I don't want anybody to go through what I had to go through, but let's just start being real.
Yeah.
Because the reality is there and it's going to punch us in the face at some point, whether we like it or not. So let's be there for our people when they really need it, not just say everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then go work out so you'll feel better.
Yeah, like another thing with that is like, I found like by sharing little bits of my story, and it's funny because like I know like, and it's like you get caught up in that culture of like, well, this didn't even get any likes, or like nobody even saw this, and it's funny because like I'm still just stubborn enough. I'm like, I just think I'm just gonna speak my truth today, and I'm gonna keep speaking my truth, and I don't really care if I get a lot of likes or engagement. But then I've had people reach out to me like either through messages or in passing, and they're like, that post you did in February, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think anyone saw that. Like, just, and it's like I do think like you said, more people are watching than you know, and they're ready to step up and have that conversation. They're just that platform to have it, or that safe situation, like they can stand up and go, yes, I deal with this as well. And I think it's so important to share those, even that breakdown on Facebook. I'm like, that's so important because you probably helped 10 other people that day that didn't like or comment, that were too afraid to reach out to you to feel. It's gotta feel your feelings, man.
Was my hope. I'm like, look, being an entrepreneur and a single woman at the same time kind of sucks sometimes. I'm tired of being lonely and being by myself, doing this all by myself. I feel like I'm alone in everything I do. Wah. And I'm gonna have a pity party and you guys are gonna join me. You know, it's like, it's okay. Sometimes we have pity parties. It's real life.
And it's so frustrating because I think when I was single, I remember just the gloss over thing was like, well, you'll find somebody. And I'm like, well, today is not that day. And I need somebody to help me, to tell me, yeah, it does suck. I'm here for you.
Yeah, it does suck. Come hang out.
Yeah, you want to go get some wine or an alcoholic beverage. Maybe we won't do that.
Right. Maybe we'll go pick up something heavy. Maybe we'll go for a walk. Maybe we'll watch a stupid movie and like laugh at all the bad jokes or make fun of it or like.
For real.
Last thing you want to hear is, oh, well, you'll find somebody. It's like, well, piss off. Like,
you know, not helpful. Like.
You don't know that. You have no idea. It's not being helpful either. Stop it.
I know if I need to feel okay today. Okay, dang it.
I know, right? But we're not comfortable with having those conversations, and we need to know that we don't have to know what to say, but you need to be prepared for an honest answer when you get one. Not if, but when you get one, you can just sit there and say, I don't know what to do with what you just told me, but do you need me to listen? It's okay. It's a start.
Especially listening can be so powerful, and it's like, especially with those mental health conversations, it's like, I don't know what to say, so I didn't reach out to my friend that's feeling depressed, and it's like, they probably maybe just need somebody to listen to them and validate their experience and just go, man, yeah, that really does suck. Having your water heater, having to replace that, that's a total shitty situation.
I'm still kind of mad about it. This is the funny part. So FYI, guys, the water heater guys, that's literally the name of the business, the water heater guys, that's all they do. So they were the ones who told me this. They said, oh, by the way, water heaters are now meant to only last up until their expiration date of the warranty.
That's
literally. So I put it in 6 years ago. It expired. It started leaking about 5 years and probably 2 months before it expired, but before the warranty expired. I had no idea. So just 6 years and 4 months after I replaced it, it was leaking everywhere. And you need new ones. It's 6 years. I thought water heaters last for like 20 years, don't they? I thought.
That's old school ones.
You mean back when they made good ones?
Back when they made things to last, and now they don't do that because you know what happens if it lasts? You don't get more money.
You don't buy another one.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic, but
it's a whole nother topic.
Just FYI. So I don't want to end this conversation. We probably should wrap up. This has been great. So Hillary, tell us where people can find you, where anything that you want to share with, what should they contact you about, what your specialty is, how they can find you, what you have, etc. Go for it.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at The Healthy Composer. I also have a website or a blog, the Healthy Musician site. But my main goal is to really get musicians just feeling comfortable in their own skin and ready to create and to just, there's a better baseline than being a tortured artist. And I just recently had a blog post on that. But yeah, I also do life coaching where I'm here to guide you, listen to your story, help you through, help you find those coping mechanisms that are really going to be a lot better than the beta blockers or the crappy counselors. There are fabulous counselors out there. I'm not dissing counselors, but so yeah, find me, and I'm also on Facebook under Hillary Jean Coaching or Hillary Lester if you want to friend me. But yeah, come find me, come chat with me. I'll chat about mental health all day. I'm not afraid of it. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. 10 out of 10 recommend if you are who I was when I was a freshman and struggling, find somebody like this because it took a long time to sort it out on my own.
Same. I'm like, oh, I needed this when I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about y'all, but I really wish we could all hang out in the gym together and be like the trifecta of girls who pick up heavy things just for a day. It'd be fun. We should have, you know, like at some point we should have a get together of anybody who's interested in that. We should all meet at a gym and we just like take over.
That would be so much fun. Like calling all
scare some people. You know.
I'm down for it. That's actually a thing now. I'm gonna
life goals. Yeah, let's make it happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, I get it. Hillary, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a fantastic conversation. I'm so glad I found you on Instagram.
Hey, oh my gosh, you reached out to me and I was so excited because I can be such an introvert. So when people reach out to me, I get really excited and I'm like, hi. So thank you.
That's a great message to share.
It was so fabulous to meet you guys on Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to be posting this ASAP and then it's going to be dropping on audio. We drop every Tuesday. So this one, we also like you have a backlog. So it will be a little bit. But we really appreciate you coming and joining us. And if you guys, thank you for joining us as well. And please go listen and subscribe to her podcast as well. Sounds of the World.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you again for joining us, and everybody have a wonderful day. Be tuned and strong.
Tuned and strong.
That's right.